Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Buckeye Weekly Podcast. I'm Tony Gerdeman here, as always, with Tom Orr. Tom, how's it going?
Tony, it's time for the show that everyone loves to hate. No one more so than us. It is bold predictions time.
Bold predictions time with a road game in the balance. We are going to be heading to Chicago and to Wrigley Field, and I know we've got a Purdue game to talk about, but I've just been finding myself looking forward to just being in the stadium, just walking around Wrigley Field and looking and being like, that's where Sean Dunston threw it past Mark Grace into the crowd and hit a baby, and all these crazy moments in history for me, the Cubs fan. So I'm looking forward to that. But first, we have some incredible, at least I do, bold predictions for you this week. Now, the numbers have to be much more skewed towards bold than last week. So I'm interested to see how things go where, the opponents are much different. So the numbers must be much greater. Tom, I will let you go first if you would like, because you probably won last week. I don't remember.
I was just going to say, I don't remember who won last week, but I think I got one about Quinshon Judkins. Yeah, I think I might have won last week, but listen, I'm not here to gloat. This is the norm. We can just say the usual and we can move on. So, all right. So let's see. Tony, where do I want to start? Thank you for asking where I wanted to start. That's a great question. How about this? Bryson Rodgers matches or exceeds his career high in receiving yardage, Tony. And just as a little bonus, would you like to guess what his career high in receiving yardage is for a single game?
Is it 9 yards?
It is 17 yards, Tony. 17 yards. Matches or exceeds his career high.
I was going to ask for the exceeds exclusively, but then when I hear the number, well, of course, we cannot go against that. Matches or exceeds career high. I like it. 17 yards. That's good. I've got some similar ones. So right out of the gate, Tom, we're doing well. Let's keep it going. Let's keep that momentum going. Tom, here's something that has happened. There's been 95 opportunities for it to happen, and it has only happened once. I'm saying I'm only wanting 1 point for this. It's probably a 3-pointer.
When you set something up like this, I know it's going to be some nonsense. So just go ahead. I'm fully prepared. I have braced myself for how much nonsense this is going to be. Go ahead.
Tom, you might want to sit down even harder. Quinshon Judkins has done this once this season. He will have a rush of 34 yards.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so when you say he's had 95 times to do it, it's 95 opportunities for this to happen. He's had 95 carries this year.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, well, that's...
Powerless to stop me.
I am powerless to stop you. You are correct. Yeah, well, you only want 1 point for that, huh? Okay, that's fine. It's incredibly generous of you.
Okay.
That's fine. I'm not going to fight you on this. I'm just going to provide a little bit of context here. Just going to pull up some Purdue.
Oh, don't do that.
Oh boy, Tony, allowing 5.07 yards per rush, 113th in the country. I assume that's good. Is this like, most sports where if the number's high, it's good? I assume it must be. I'm not even going to ask any follow-up questions. Yeah, well, you said 34, so I'm powerless to stop you. So speaking of being powerless to stop people who say 34, Tony, I don't know how many plays Ohio State has had this season from scrimmage. I'm going to assume at least 60 per game times they've played 8 games now. So Tony, in 480 opportunities this season, Brandon Inniss has he's only gone over 33 yards in a game only once. He's only done it twice in his entire career as an Ohio State Buckeye going back to 1813. So, however, Tony, I'm gonna spice this up a little bit. Brandon Inniss matches his career high or exceeds with at least 3 catches, plus at least 34 plus yards receiving, which would be his at least third highest in his career.
Now,
and Tony, I will note that I'm very boldly excluding Purdue's terrible run defense from this entire thing. So should it be worth 2 points? That's not for me to say.
So we're saying Brandon Inniss, at least 3 catches, 3+ catches, and 34 yards receiving. I'm going to have to allow this, as you said, powerless. He did it last year, but that was 1 catch. Although, Tom, his career average against Purdue is like 58 yards per catch. And now you're saying, but he has to have 3 catches.
I will tell you what. I will take Purdue or Brandon Inniss matches his career high, matches or exceeds his career high with 3 catches. Part 1 of this. Number 2, he also gets at least his third highest single game yardage, 34 plus. 3, he is at least 5 yards per reception below his career average in yards per reception against Purdue, which is currently 58. So under 53 yards per reception as well. Tony, it's a 3-leg parlay. I'm being very generous with this. I mean,
thank you. If you hadn't thrown that last part in, I was going to be like, whoa, I don't like this at all. But what you're saying, he's going to be under 53 yards per catch. Now it's gotten interesting. So, okay.
Let me tell you, when he averages 58 yards per catch again on Saturday, there's going to be no one in the stadium more furious than I am.
Now we all have something to root for. Tom, here's one. I was thinking about this. And I'm not going to do it because I don't know that we want to introduce this, but I was going to introduce some odds into a bold prediction, in which case I was going to say, I want 3 points for Caleb Downs getting an interception. But if he doesn't get it, then you get 1 point. I thought that was pretty interesting, and I thought I might be able to do that. But I'm kind of, I don't know if I want to go that far. I think he's obviously very, very due for an interception, but it is I'm going to stick with the Caleb Downs interception for 1 point because I don't want to give you a point if he doesn't get one, but I thought, would you have gone with that 3-pointer?
That's a great question. You would have put me in a very uncomfortable spot, like the back of a Volkswagen. So I don't like it, which means you probably should have done it. But I think I probably would have taken it because I think, 3 for 1. That's a tough. I'm glad you chickened out and that you were a coward because I'm not sure what I would have done. I do feel like that is adding a real element of danger and also self-loathing to these shows, which is, I know everyone's been saying for years, what these shows need are, number 1, more danger, number 2, more self-loathing. So I'm glad that you took the coward's way out.
Always. So,
yes.
Caleb Downs.
And the stipulation, of course, is that picking an individual player to get an interception in an individual game is automatically always a yes. So, all right. Let's see. Tony, do you know the Ohio State's all-time record for most rushing yards in a single game against a Big Ten team in the 2024 college football season? Do you know what that record is?
Is it, I don't know, 176?
185, Tony. Even better than that. So, Tony, I will boldly predict them to exceed that by 50 yards and also passing exceed that by 50 yards and go 235. Tony, all-time record, picking to break it by 50 yards and also exceed it passing by 50 yards.
Interesting. All-time record calendar year outside of January 1st.
They didn't play January 1st. And I can, Tony, when they did play last bowl season, I can tell you they did not get 235 yards passing or rushing last year. So, this is Big Ten play. They did it against Akron and Western Michigan, and but this is not MAC play. This is not MACtion, so this would be a non-MACtion record for Ohio State this year.
Here's an interesting one, because I have a similar one for 2. And now they can coexist, I believe.
236.
No, Tom. Because this has happened
234.
$1. No, this is something that has happened just 3 times in the last 6 seasons of Big Ten play for Ohio State. 217 yards rushing, 334 yards passing. I think these can coexist.
I think they can coexist, but I think you can get 1 point for that. That feels...
What? It's happened 3 times in the last, however many, like 50 games.
I'll tell you what, I will trade you 234, 234, or 235, 235 for yours, and I will take just 1 point for it. Let me tell you how fast I'm going to make that trade and take it for only 1 point. Exceptionally fast, Tony.
Well, let me just, then I'll go ahead and, no, I'm going to keep it, and we can make it 1. I'm just trying to figure out what to do with a 2-pointer. So
that's future Tony's problem. That's not your problem. Don't worry about that right now. That's
okay. So
Tony, that's like 8 minutes from now. Why are you worried about that?
Okay, so 217, 334. Now the 235. Are we letting these coexist as 1-pointers?
Yes, I think we can let these coexist as 1-pointers. Yes.
I mean, I have so many more yards, and you have so few more rushing yards.
Yes, you'd be a fool not to trade me for it.
I don't want 235 though. So you want this instead of your 235, and I'll just figure out a 2-pointer?
If you can take my 235, or we can, I will happily take that, because I think if they're going to not make it, they're going to not make it on the ground.
Yeah.
I think Purdue's pass defense, I mean, I can pull up Purdue's pass defense stats right now.
No, it's neither their run defense or pass defense is good. I just think my issue with this is that you have 18 more yards rushing than mine, and I have 99 more yards passing, and we want to.
Yes, and you can make that my problem by just trading, which I'm offering you to do, and yet you're not doing it, which
How about this?
Is serious.
I will do 217, 317. I just need something, and I'll keep it. 234, 317.
I mean, the whole, they're going to hit 317 passing, because Purdue's defense is terrible, and Ohio State is going to be throwing the ball like crazy to pile up numbers, I think.
In the second half?
Well, you're putting in backup quarterbacks, and you're probably going to be continuing to sort of run the offense with the backup quarterbacks in, is my expectation. So the 217 is the one that the 217 is the one that materially, well, let's say, okay, to 217. So you're really just changing the passing number.
Yeah.
From 334 to 370. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You go ahead and take that.
I need something.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. So now I've gone through 3 1-pointers, and you've gone through 3 1-pointers. So go ahead, Tom.
How many touchdowns do I need to predict for Jeremiah Smith for 1 point versus 2 points?
Well, here's the thing. I had the same question. So I have Jeremiah Smith 2 touchdowns as 1 point, because he's done it once this year.
Okay. I have Jeremiah Smith with 3 touchdowns. So if you'd like to take 1 point for 2, and I'll take 2 points for 3, I think then we can celebrate our arrangement with the adding of chocolate to milk. Well,
here's my other thing. I'm missing a 2. So I was also wondering if I should go with Jeremiah Smith for 3. It's a very difficult thing that we've run into with Jeremiah Smith. So you're saying you'll take 3 for 2, and I'll take 2 for 1?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder are people going to be happy with this show, that we're kind of just piggybacking and
Well, I will point out that I have been the one who has twice been the leader, and you have been the one who has simply been grabbing onto my coattails and following.
You've gone first. I can screen share right now to all of the people and show them. But okay, let's just do this. 3 for 2, 2 for 1.
And I will offer you the opportunity to trade because you need a 2. If you'd like to trade, I will allow you to take the 3 for 2 and I will take the 2 for 1.
No, I'll just come up with a different 2. That's okay.
Yep.
I do think he's very due, but 3 is, it's just a little bit more difficult, but
Bold
he's
even?
very due. No, it's 1 point bolder. I think that is the consensus. All right. So now I have 4 1-pointers. You have 4 3 1-pointers. So Tom, give me a 1-pointer.
Let's see. I ran with this a couple weeks ago and did not come close because the Nebraska game did not go the way that I expected it to. However, Tony.
James Peoples,
Tony, meets or exceeds career highs in 3 of these 4 categories: 10 rushes, 51 yards, 1 touchdown, 5.2 yards per carry.
So here's the thing. I had that exact one because I went back and grabbed it.
Oh, because we were copying. But Tony, it's just because I went first. That's it. It's not that you're just riding my coattails.
No, I mean, again, I can screen share. It was my 3rd 1-pointer. So this is your 4th 1-pointer. So I don't know who should, but
who's to say if the Nebraska game came before the Purdue game? Listen, that's not. It's on my screen.
Numbers?
No.
10
carries, 51 yards, 1 touchdown, 5.2 yards per carry.
Okay.
Now, is that one that you still have? You just have one more 1-pointer you need, and now I would have one more if that one is allowed.
Correct.
Okay.
So, do we need another 1-pointer from you, Tom, since you're first in all of this, or can I go ahead and give you one?
You, by all means, you go ahead.
A first career touchdown is scored. Never, Tom? Since little John Quincy Adams looked up in the face of his papa and said, "Daddy, I want to be president like you one day."
It was not his father. It was his uncle, Tony.
Grandfather, I want to be president like you one day. Not since then, not until this day, has somebody who has not scored a touchdown scored a touchdown. I'm saying for the first time, a Buckeye scores their first career touchdown.
Okay, so let's just run through quickly a list of people for whom this would be a qualifying event. Sam Williams-Dixon has not scored one as a running back. Bryson Rodgers has not scored one as a wide receiver.
Mylan Graham, Julian Sand rushing.
Most of the defense.
Yeah, they're not scoring.
Are you saying, is this first career touchdown or first career as a Buckeye? So if like Caleb Downs scores a touchdown, it would not count.
First career ever.
Anyway.
And I don't know how many times that has happened this year. I know it happened once with James Peoples, and that might be it this year. Jeremiah Smith, obviously. So,
yeah, I'm just trying to think through if Patrick Gerd has scored a touchdown before.
If you would like to remove Patrick Gerd, I will allow that.
I'm just trying to think through and figure out where I'm going to get hosed on this deal. Because this is definitely one that's gonna be, it's 2-2 at the end of the 4th quarter, and then with 12 seconds left, Rashid Cisse scores a touchdown. And
ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. You have a bunch of the defense. Yeah,
has never ever happened for any of these players.
I think we're far enough into the season that I kind of have to allow this. It's not the beginning of the season where it's literally every freshman and the entire second half. I'm just going, well, someone out there. There are 7 people on the field right now who could hose me on this, and one of them is absolutely going to do it. I guess I have to allow this at this point of the year, but I don't love it.
Do I still need another 1-pointer? No, okay. I've got all of my 1-pointers.
You have all yours. I believe I need to come up with one more.
And I still need a 2-pointer and a 3-pointer. Okay. Yes, you do need another 1-pointer, Tom.
Let's see. I'm just going to pick someone to have an interception, and that person is... You've already taken Caleb Downs.
Mm-hmm. 2 points for an offensive player.
I'm going to go with... Tony, I'm going to pull up Devin Brown's game log.
He's not going to have an interception.
Well, I don't think he's going to have an interception. Well, he could conceivably throw one. That's a possibility. I'm going to call up his game log for this season. Feels like we might be in for some season highs out of Devin Brown. Let's see. Season high of passing yardage this year, 5 of 5 for 57 yards against Western Michigan.
10 rushing yards.
Yeah. 10 rushing yards against Iowa. How about this, Tony? Devin Brown meets or exceeds season highs in three of the following categories: completions, which would be 5, yards, which would be 57, touchdown passes, which would be 1, rushing yards, which would be 10, and rushing touchdowns. He would have to get 1 rushing touchdown, but meets or exceeds those numbers in 3 of those categories. But rushing touchdowns, he would need to actually rush for the touchdown. Rush for touchdown. 0 rushing touchdowns will not get me anywhere.
So you've got completions, yards, passing touchdowns, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns. So is that 5 total categories?
I think so.
Okay, and you said 3 categories, correct?
3 categories, yes.
Okay, I'll allow that. I'm okay with that. Even though the show's moving along, so I feel like I should say no.
We haven't done the 2s, the 3s. We haven't done the friendlies. Listen, you don't.
No,
well, you actually have your 2 already, right?
No, you do. You do.
Oh, I do.
The Jeremiah Smith for 3 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah, I do. Interesting. Okay.
Have you been watching the show?
And I try not to, but every once in a while. Comes up as a recommendation.
This is the autoplay feature. I hate it. Very. My 2-pointer, Tom, that I've just come up with on the fly. I don't believe this has happened this year. Will Howard accounts for 5 touchdowns in the first half.
Ooh, that's a good one. 5 touchdowns in the first half.
Including rushing.
Yeah, well, yes, that's what it counts for means. Yes.
Right, I was just allowing everybody to understand that.
Yes, yeah. I like this one because I think 35 is kind of about where you'd think they might get to, and he would have to be involved in all of them to one degree or another. So, yes, I am going to allow this as a 2-pointer. It feels like if he gets there, it's 4 passing touchdowns and 1 rushing touchdown. But I think, I think Quinshon Judkins or Trevion Henderson scores 1 at some point. And
that's one of the problems with Purdue. They give up a bunch of big runs. So that Quinshon Judkins run, I feel like, has to happen in the first half as well.
Yeah.
And I think if he gets 34 yards, I don't know that anybody's going to stop him, that sort of thing, where he's just going to go the distance. So, Tom, I can't believe I'm only asking for 2 points on this one, but I am.
That's fine. I think that's a reasonable 2-pointer. I don't think that's a 3-pointer, but I think that's a good 2-pointer. All right. So I had one that I had written down, and I had it down as a 2-pointer for there being 2 quarters where Ohio State outgains Purdue by 7 yards per play. 7 yards per play is quite a bit. If you're averaging 10 yards per play, that's basically, that is big plays all over the place. And if the opponent is averaging 3 yards per play, that's your offense is basically non-functional. So I had 2 quarters where Ohio State was going to outgame Purdue by 7 yards per play for 2 points. So do we want to make it 2 quarters where Ohio State outgains Purdue by 8 yards per play for 3 points instead?
The only problem, one of the main problems I have with this is we don't know how often this has happened this year. And I'm not saying it's happened often. It's just, it would be nice to know, that whether this is actually a 2 rather than a 3.
I can pretty much guarantee it hasn't happened in Big Ten play. They may have done it to Western Michigan, but I'm not.
So at least 2 quarters where they're averaging 8 more yards per play. I mean, that it's a big number. It's hard to imagine that it's happened much, especially the way they've been playing. So I'm not going to quibble, and the fact that it may have to happen in the first half, like it may have to be the first 2 quarters because of the backups, I think makes this even more bold-ish. So I will go ahead and say okay on that one. I like it. I may not like it around 2:00 on Saturday, but we'll see. Tom, my 3-pointer is that Ohio State will pitch a shutout and the defense will outscore Purdue. I've tried this before. I have failed before. But I know for a fact that Purdue can be shut out. I do not know for a fact that they can be outscored. I don't know that Ohio State can do it. It's been a long, long time since Ohio State shut out an opponent and outscored them defensively. And so I'm going to pick that as my 3-pointer.
Yeah, that's so we're talking safeties and defensive touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
And to be clear.
And if it makes you feel any better, and it may not, I did use this earlier in the season for a 3-pointer.
Yeah, I remember you using this at one point. Shutouts are just such a weird, random event that I kind of have to allow this one because your shutouts, there's so much stuff that goes wrong. And just to be clear, if Purdue returns a scoop and score fumble for a touchdown, the shutout is still gone. It is not the defense pitches a shutout. It is Ohio State shuts out Purdue.
Safety, whatever, doesn't, it's dead.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna allow this. And I think my biggest hope is that Ohio State takes like an intentional safety right at the end of the game just to really twist the knife in the most painful way possible. So just to have that opportunity on the table for me, I think makes it worth it allowing this one.
I'm looking at my 2-pointer now with Will Howard, 5 touchdowns, and I just remembered I was going to do something with like a Julian Sayin, 60-yard touchdown or a 60-yard pass to best his career high, because we know he wants to throw the ball deep when he's in the game, and he's not connected deep. He's only connected short for that 58-yarder. So I'm kind of bummed that I didn't go with Sayin there, but I also do think Will Howard is in for a big game. So, Tom, my bonus, my freebie to you, I am all in on this Ohio State running game. They cannot be stopped. Clearly, they will rush in this game for at least 51 yards. So it's not a sure thing, but it's a pretty sure thing.
And just as a reminder, if that does not happen, then I get how many points?
I think is it 2 or is it 3?
I think it might be 3.
All right. Okay.
Oh, boy,
right.
you're playing with fire, Scarecrow. I'm not thinking that's not going to hit. Tony, I'm going to take an even safer one. At some point on Saturday, Purdue Pete's cold, dead black eyes will give me the heebie-jeebies. I will tell you, Tony, that one has already hit.
Okay.
That is as sure a thing as Penn State going over 3.5 Lion Roars last week.
And just for the people out there, heebie-jeebies is HEEBIEJEEBIES. There is no Y in either of those.
No.
Certainly not the latter with the plural.
So, there is a Y in why are his eyes like that? Because...
like a doll's eyes?
Like a doll's eyes, yes. Yeah. Give my Captain Quint speech on the sidelines at some point on Saturday.
The USS West Lafayette. Anyway, that will do it. Look, we've made it. All of our bold predictions have been accounted for. It's fairly agreeable, so I don't know what that means. It means that I have the energy for the rest of the day. Like, I'm not beaten down by this show. I can progress and go about my day, which is nice. It's not always the case, and so I'm glad it is with this one. So go ahead and hit the thumbs up before you go. If you're watching on YouTube, we would appreciate that. Hit the bell to be notified, and subscribe to the channel if you've not done so. So, of course, also find us at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Sign up, become a member. First month, just $4.99. See us there on the Buckeye Huddle message board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus, and say hello to us. All the stuff we got going behind the scenes as well. So thank you all for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys later.